We have all heard the conspiracies about aliens and witchcraft. Some people can even admit they have had encounters with things that just can't be explained. However, the story covers a frightening experience of a 12-year-old boy and a mysterious circle of sticks in the woods. This story is about a kid who found this weird circle of sticks in the woods. After telling his story about it in the media, it went viral. The circle seemed man-made. He wondered what it was, so he started inspecting it. But what would happen would change his life for good. Before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. Today we are sharing his story and what happened with this mysterious circle of sticks. Yeah, sure we will, he thought. Seeing no other choice, Devin left for his go-to place when he was upset. It was a normal day, and Devin wanted to play catch with his dad, but he had an online meeting, so he could not come along. Devin frowned. That was the same excuse he always gave, and the same follow-up he always had. We'll do it another day. The treehouse. To a 12-year-old, a treehouse was the perfect place for him to just get away from his problems and be himself. It was the one place where both he and Reese could hang out. They went when they were sad, mad, or just bored out of their minds. It was their little getaway. In short, it was their spot. But how did they find it? They had found the treehouse one day while looking through the woods for buried treasure. They didn't find any treasure, but they did stumble upon the treehouse. It seemed to be abandoned. It wasn't too far from the residential area, and both boys agreed that it was likely built by someone who had grown too old to use it. Taking one look, both boys knew without a doubt that it was a dump. Seeing an opportunity, they decided to fix it up. Cleaning up the treehouse wasn't easy, but the end product was worth it. They placed fold-up chairs, a rug, and a blanket to cover the only window in the wooden box. They kept their comic books, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and toys up there. But you're probably wondering. Reese was Devin's best friend and most often co-conspirator. The boys had met years before when Reese had moved in next door. Devin's family had gone over to introduce themselves. This was when Devin discovered that Reese had the latest Xbox. Together, the boys sat down and played all day, till the introduction turned into a sleepover, which led to many. Reese and Devin were the closest friends, but also very different from each other. Reese was a daredevil. He liked to act first and deal with the consequences later, but Devin liked to think ahead and avoid as much trouble as possible. Devin was in the woods now. It would only be a few more feet until he made it to their getaway. He could still feel the anger bursting through him, even as he swung a stick pretending it was Excalibur. He had found it a while back, almost tripping on it as he sauntered in anger. He stopped suddenly, his eyes catching something. Devin felt a cold wash through him. The figure was still a distance, so he could only make a partial identity. He took a step back instinctively. He decided that he would get a closer look at whatever ominous figure was perched deeper into the woods. It was a circle of sticks. On closer look, it didn't seem as scary, but Devin couldn't fight the ominous feeling. He tried to go around it to get a better view of the thing, but was shocked to find that there was none. The sticks took up all the space on the path. The only thing he could see was the front and side. Deciding he needed to do some more investigating, he looked down at Excalibur and lifted it upwards. Slowly, he inserted the stick into the hole of the circle, and then it happened. Suddenly, like a vacuum, the hole absorbed the stick, forcing him to let go. He lay on the floor, feet tingling in fear and anticipation. He couldn't believe his eyes. He checked his fingers once more, searching for the stick, or a logical explanation to what he had witnessed, but nothing happened. He was scared and frozen in place for a good minute. He didn't know what to do. Whatever the circle was, it wasn't human, or at least not something he had read about in any of his textbooks. But even in his fear, he couldn't fight the fascination he could feel growing. Was this what Reese felt all the time? Then he had an idea. He was going to test a theory he had come up with. He ran over to a tree and grabbed an acorn off the ground. He went up to the circle and chucked the acorn in. He waited a minute, but it felt like hours as he watched the circle, panting from the excitement. Finally, the acorn came out, whizzing past his head. He stared at the circle as if scared it would disappear before nodding his head in determination. Turning his body away from it, he ran speedily. He went home and grabbed the football from his bedroom. Soon he was running back to where he had come from, his mind focused on one thing only. He got into a throwing stance, stretched his arm backwards, winding up the shot, and then threw. It went in. A minute passed, and then the ball popped right back out and bounced back to him. Smiling, he prepared another throw. He stared as the ball flew, but sighed in frustration when he missed the hole. He groaned. Oh, he was excited. He found himself thinking that maybe he wouldn't need his dad to play catch with. After all, he got into the stance, stretched his arm backwards, and chucked it as hard as he could. This time the ball went in, no problem. A minute went by, and he stood waiting in front of the circle. Suddenly, the ball came out fast, spiraling and hitting him dead in the stomach. The unexpected and hard throw left him in pain. He fell to his knees in shock and pain. He wasn't expecting it to come out that hard. That's when he realized that it all depended on the strength of his throw. If he threw it weakly, the circle would toss it back with the same momentum. Throw it hard, and it comes back hard. Lesson learned, he braced himself once more, ready to toss the ball again. This time he steadied himself to receive it. He played catch with the circle of wood for a good hour, then made his way home. I couldn't wait to show Reese. He would be off punishment the next day, and Devin was psyched to show him his new discovery. "I got something to show you," he tapped his fingers anxiously as he waited for the text box to appear. Finally, he got his response. "Really? Nice. I hate it here." The next day rolled around and Devin was excited. Since it was a Saturday, they would both have the rest of the day to play. He sent his friend a text. "Dude, you're in for a surprise?" Devin knew that he would still have to head over next door to ask permission to play. So he brushed my teeth and ran over to the other yard. He asked his parents if he could hang out. They said, of course, and we went to the treehouse. Whoa! What the hell is that thing? After very little convincing, Reese agreed to take a look. They walked about 3/4 of the way and started to approach where he'd seen the circle of sticks. That's when Reese spotted it. "It's a portal," Devin piped up eagerly. Both boys looked at it for a good minute and then made their way closer. "Throw this into it," Devin said, unable to hold back the excitement in his voice. He handed Reese the football, and he brought his arm back and threw it in on his first try. "Now what?" he asked. "Just wait." They observed it for a little longer before Devin finally spoke. "That was pretty amazing," he said, not bothering to hide his excitement. Devin smiled, grabbed the ball back from him, and threw it into the hole once again. A minute went by, even though it felt like an eternity, and the ball finally popped back out and landed on the ground in front of Reese. Reese didn't say anything for a moment, then knelt and picked up the football. He scrutinized it carefully, looking for any scuffs or nicks on the ball. "What's on the other side?" Reese finally asked. They played for a good 30 minutes. At first, Reese wanted to know how many things could go through the circle. He threw rocks, acorns, and even a shoe into the hole. All came out just like they had before. Then they took turns tossing the football into it. "I don't know. Space stuff? What if there's like a whole other dimension on the other side of it? Maybe there's an alternate version of us." He tossed the football into the portal again and waited for its reemergence. Devin blinked twice. The thought hadn't really occurred to him yet. "Yeah, I guess it's possible." The boys continued to take turns tossing the ball as they spoke. "Aren't you at all curious about what's on the other side?" "Yeah, I guess I'm a little curious." Well, what?" "Stick your head through the portal," he asked, confused. "What? No way!" Devin stepped back, shaking his head and hands at the same time. Reese had always had wild ideas, but this one crossed the line. Devin was clearly scared, and Reese didn't let up. "Chicken! Chicken!" he taunted, even flapping his arms like wings. Devin wasn't swayed. "I'm not doing it. You don't know what could be on the other side. What if there's a monster?" Devin argued. Reese brushed it off. "It's just a portal. Don't you want to know who's been tossing the ball back through it?" That thought paused Devin. Someone, or something, was throwing the ball back, but curiosity wasn't enough to push him into danger. "What if it's a vacuum?" Devin added, recalling lessons about space. It didn't seem worth the risk, but Reese was already stepping closer. "I'm going to look through the portal," he declared. Devin pleaded with him to stop, warning it was too risky. "You can't be a chicken your whole life," Reese said. As Reese leaned in, Devin panicked and tried to think fast. "Wait, we haven't seen what this thing does to living creatures," Devin blurted. Reese paused. "We should test it first," Devin suggested. Reese agreed, and they both looked for a small animal to experiment with. Eventually, they found a lizard. After a moment of hesitation, they tossed it into the portal. Seconds passed. "Nothing," Reese laughed, waving his arms. But suddenly, the lizard was ejected from the portal unconscious and limp. A warm splash hit Devin. Both boys were horrified. They scrambled away from the portal, shaking and stained, and didn't stop until they reached their treehouse. For an hour, they sat in silence. The sun had begun to set. "I vote we pretend it never happened," Reese muttered. But Devin disagreed. "We should tell our parents, sir, the cops," Reese refused. "They'll think we're crazy." They both knew doing nothing wasn't an option, but they were afraid. After some debate, they agreed to tell their parents the next day during Sunday Brunch a Weekly family ritual. That night, neither of them slept peacefully. The next morning, Devin woke up hoping it had all been a dream, but the stained clothes were still in the laundry bin. Later that day, when Reese's family arrived for brunch, the boys exchanged a nervous look and quietly shared the story with the adults. At first, the families thought the kids were pretending, but when Devin showed them the stained shirt, their concern grew. The parents called the police and, using the boys' directions, they went searching for the portal. What they found was nothing. The portal had vanished. No swirling light, no strange hum, just a patch of earth with unusual markings. The boys were telling the truth. Though the portal was gone, the evidence and fear in the boys' voices were enough. The police took over the case, but Devin and Reese weren't allowed to return to the woods. Their parents built them a new treehouse in the yard, hoping to keep them safe. Even though the portal had disappeared, the memory didn't. Devin and Reese were healing, but the experience would always linger. The mystery of what lay beyond that strange hole in the air remained unanswered, and maybe that was for the best.